go and drive me so crazy. Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long. Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long, want you all night, watch 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 all night. Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long. Baby, now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long. Give me all your love, baby. Give me all your love, baby. Give me all your love, all your love, all your love. Give me all your love, baby. Give me all your love, baby. Give me all your love, all your love, all your love. Tell me, why'd you have to go and drive me so crazy? Now I'm feeling lost without you, and I just can't be without you, baby. Want you all night long, want you all night long.
Hey everyone, welcome to Podcast Batching Day. I'm Sally, and we have our very first guest for Podcast Batching Day. We did have somebody get sick today, so there was no Katie for the first session. So I spoke to you about the journey of Straight Talk with Sally, how we made 92 episodes this year, and how we attempted to get the podcast going 6 times before we actually finally got it up and running. And I shared with you the power of, building relationships by using the podcast, and also how you can use that to nurture clients or prospects along the way. But talking all things good podcasting, this guest, we got Anna joining us. It's going to be so cool. I can't wait to dig in. We've already had a bit of a chat behind the scenes before we went live. And then coming up, we have Paul Kim. So if you're interested in SEO, you will not want to miss that. Now, if you don't want to miss a single live, subscribe, ding ding, to the channel, and make sure you hit that reminder button or go to this website here. See that website? It'll show you not only Podcast Batching Day, but also all of the other live events that we run for you free to the public. But today we have an amazing guest. Anna's superpower is the ability to be able to help clients to identify what their podcast idea is so that it can help to accelerate their business, help them with their professional goals, establishing trust with their ideal customers, and also to avoid all of that content creator overwhelm. Now, we met through the Leap into Podcasting. We were a panel on stage for women in podcasting, and her actual session that she taught was really awesome as well. But today, I want to pick her brain, right? So that you guys can learn some awesome things around how you can take your content and make a podcast, build that thing. Now, originally she's from Portugal. She did her first podcast way back in 2008. What the what? So she is your girl when it comes to podcasting. In January 2020, she founded the Podcast Space, which is an online podcast consulting agency, and she specifically works with female entrepreneurs. So Anna has also helped more than 40 professionals, entrepreneurs to launch and improve their podcast. And each month, she helps thousands more through all the resources. Like we all know, content is king. You can replicate and duplicate that stuff out all over the place. So everybody put your hands together and please welcome Anna to the stage. Hello, beautiful. Hi. How are
Hi,
you?
Sally. Yes, I am so good. I am so excited to be here. Like that, like kind of like party goddess. Like the music, great selection. I was like, all right. I'm holding myself because it just feels like I'll be like, woo, let's party over here.
That's how we roll, baby, always with the dance party when we start any of our live streams. Now, like I know there are a lot of people out there watching right now. It's like they want the secret sauce to how to launch a podcast. But before we dig into that, I want to know a little bit more about you. And, tell me a bit about your past, your history, and what has helped you to get to this point when it comes to, this awesome agency that you have helping people create podcasts.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for having me first off. I love that every single guest you have, in a way, are living their kind of authentic selves and really inspiring people to do the same. And I feel like every single job I had in my life has helped me become what I am today. And that has been my message to every podcaster, actually, because one of the things that people say are, I don't have like a background in podcasting. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a blah blah blah. And I'm like, well, I was a journalist at some point. My degree was in journalism and communications, but I had so many different jobs. I started my career in Portugal in radio, and I did a quick learning in TV. And I was like, no, I like radio better. And it was so funny. I think that one of the most important things is that you have people who believe in you and your career. And when I was doing my internship in these nationwide radio station, my tutor at the time, or my mentor at the time, he was like, Anna, I feel like you have too much energy to be a journalist. You're holding back your whole personality. And I think you would be so much better if you were to be like a radio DJ or something like that. And I was like, when someone says something to you with love, and you're like, yeah, you know what? Like, you could see through me when I couldn't see it myself. And so I started getting into radio, and I did become a radio DJ. And then my best friend's like, Anna, I'm moving to London. And I'm like, well, you know what? Let's go to the BBC, the land of the BBC. And so I moved there, learned so much about different types of radio and online radio and podcasting, and I was just, this is amazing. And then I worked in a digital marketing, which has become a passion for me, and social media and podcasting, digital marketing. Those are things that are going to help your podcast grow no matter what. And I feel like a lot of people assume that you got to create a great piece of content and then, people will come. But unfortunately, that's not necessarily how it works. You were mentioning before, like right in the beginning, when you're like, you have to really collaborate with people in order to grow, right? And I feel that that's such a fun way to grow your podcast, is bringing in other people, not feeling like you're just doing it by yourself, because it feels really overwhelming after a while. I mean, you've recorded 90 shows, so you know how much work, prep, and just so much of your time that takes, right? So you want to create something that is really good. But I lived in London, and at some point I met, life, you met somebody, and that person moved to the US. And I was like, you know what? I guess the fate is telling me to move again. So I moved here, and I worked in live streaming. So it was a really cool experience, because I would say my first love is audio, but I got to work on really cool projects, and just the video aspect of it. I mean, because you're obviously doing it, video is just so much more fun. You can really tell people's reactions. You can engage better. I mean, the future of podcasting is in video anyway. I'm just like dropping little bits of information that I hope that people will like, note. But yeah, so I think that that's such a growing experience, just really trying different mediums. And it reached a point when I was like, actually, you know what? I'm Portuguese, my husband's French, and I wanted to work from anywhere, but I wanted to go back to my roots of having a purpose and working for something that was really meaningful. And so I work primarily with clients who are working toward the betterment of their communities in the world. So, creating educational content, or their business idea is actually helping other people. So, coaches, cybersecurity experts, people who have amazing businesses in helping the planet. So, that's the kind of thing that I'm doing. And I am so passionate about content because I think that your podcast can be a tool to grow your business, but you just have to use it wisely.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing, well, your first podcast was way back in 2008. So you must have seen the industry of podcasting change a lot over the time, right? What's some big shifts that you may have seen through, well, 2008, 18, oh my God, like a while,
Over
right?
10 years.
Yeah, over 10
Yeah,
years.
over 10 years. Yeah, let's just go through there. I would say, like, something that really makes me super, super happy is the advancements of technology to make editing accessible to everybody. And just, I mean, just to think about how, like, I learned podcasting because I was at school doing journalism, and it wasn't live radio. So it was uploading content to a website that was becoming available on an RSS feed, which is what a podcast is at its core. And today, just to think that we can live stream right now. And so, if you don't like editing, if you really enjoy having banter with people, if you enjoy engagement and you feel too paralyzed to do recorded content, you can just choose whatever you feel most comfortable in. If you want to edit yourself, you can. It's just been such a joy, like tools that today make podcasting available to people who are just not beyond the nerds that love podcasting, or people in the industry, in the media industry. And I think it's super important that if you have a voice, if you have something to say and you want to help people, you have the tools to do that. So, tools that I love is, one of them is Descript, which is just so amazing to upload. You record your stuff, you upload to it, and you edit as if it was an actual, like, transcript, a page. You delete words, it deletes stuff for you, and I'm like, how great is that? Anchor, you record into the platform. YouTube, you don't have, like, I have like a whole setup. I was just telling Sally how excited I got a new camera, and I was like, I upgraded from my regular built-in, like, on my computer, camera to, like, a really cool one. But I mean, if you all you have is just your built-in computer, camera, your built-in microphone, you can do that. And I think it's just been such a joy to see the democratization of tools, and how podcasting is just available anywhere in the world. That's been super cool.
That's so awesome. So I'm living the top lifestyle right now. I've flown to Sydney, and literally this is me and my Mac. No microphone, no camera. This is just me and my Mac. So, it is. And I mean, the technology has come so far, like you said, like the quality of the camera, the quality of the microphone just in my MacBook Pro. We were actually testing some microphones before, and I've gone out and I've got myself a lapel and some easy portable microphones, and we were testing it with my team, and my team said the Mac actually sounds better unless I sat there with the portable little mic like this through the whole interview. And I'm like, I'm just going to go with the Mac. I said to my podcast girl, I go, are you okay with the sound quality like it is through the Mac? And she's like, yeah, that'll be fine. So technology has come so far, right? And I mean, we're here to drop some gems, drop some good golden nuggets for our people out there who are thinking about using content and creating podcasts. So what types of content would you recommend that will help you to create raving fans?
So I feel like one of the cool things that you can do first is that you can just, if you have a built-in business, and we're going to assume that you're using this for a business, right? Because otherwise you're a hobbyist. So it's just the type of people I normally help. I will say, though, you must have fun, and you're the queen of having fun, Sally. But I will say that definitely understanding the type of content that you're normally asked already is a good indicator of what people want to hear. Because if people come to you already, I normally tell people don't start a podcast until you've done like a brain dump of ideas, like something like you have behind you, right? Just like write down on a board, right? I'm just like pulling all the things. Um, so if you know these are things that people will ask you, then you definitely know people are going to be listening to that. So it's not actually complicated to understand what makes good user engagement and listener engagement. And that is already, if you have a podcast, look at your top 10 episodes and just try to create similar topics. So let's say if you're talking about the top 10 ways to create better podcast content, then you riff off that and say the best 10 top ways to create content if you're a female entrepreneur, if you are in the creation space, if you are an online course creator, whatever it is, just find what are those common denominators and go deep into that. Because if you're just guessing and if you have no goals, it's really hard. So figure out what is your goal with each episode. Is it to get more clients? Is it to become an authority? Is it to network with decision makers? What is it? But then look at what people are naturally drawn to you. What are you amazing at creating? What people kind of like gravitate toward already when you're talking about something, right? I feel that those are like great starting points. And honestly, it's about testing. A lot of people will go and start creating a ton of content and they never look back at the numbers. I'm a huge creative, but I am such a nerd for numbers because you don't guess when you're looking at the numbers, the download numbers on your podcast hosting platform, on your website, that will come into high download numbers, high visitor pay rate, all of that. What you normally get told, oh my gosh, you explained that so well. That's the kind of thing that will get people more interested in you and ask. I think like not enough people ask while their community wants to hear from them. Um, like for instance, one of our clients is a senior housing expert, and so we do episodes like what are the top 10 more questions you got on the last 90 days, and she will just tell me all the things that she got asked, and I'm like, well, if that person asked, there's at least 10 other who need to hear that, right? And just really trusting your gut, because I feel like people know. And another way is to look at what your peers are already creating. What is amazing stuff they're creating that you look, all right, this episode had so many downloads. I know that that's something that my people will want to hear. So in a nutshell, I think that's a really great starting point. Don't guess, just look at the numbers.
You are speaking my language, girl. The numbers. I do love me some sexy numbers. So for those listening, look, you've just heard some really great tips right there. One, look back through your top 10 episodes, or another one, look through your most engaged posts on Insta, Facebook, all of the YouTube, wherever your content is, to find and restate the same stuff just in a different way, right? Because the thing we teach, like you were saying, the things we hear people asking us all the time, we could probably talk underwater about it, right? We could talk for hours. And the more we talk, the more good stuff just falls out. And you're like, oh, I should note that down. Thank you very much for the advice, Sally. So I love that. Your top 10 episodes, looking at those sexy numbers, I 100% agree, because decisions are made in the numbers. Otherwise, you're just guessing. So that's really quality advice. And, the things you're already teaching and being asked about, and asking your community. So, I mean, those three things alone. And then another great thing you said there was the goal. Why? What is your why behind the podcast? And, in a previous episode, I spoke about, I started a podcast was really just to nurture my current clients. But then I found that the collaborations and the friendships and the things that I made through, like especially this year, running the podcast. So what is your goal? Authority, more customers. So there are probably, and I'm sure, put your hands up out there if you're listening, or shoot us a DM, of people who want to start a podcast, but they just keep overthinking things, right? And that holds them back. So what advice could you give somebody who's been overthinking the whole process?
Yeah, I think that a lot of great creators never push forward because they're afraid. And this is, if you're a professional, the fear of what my peers will say, the fear of judgment is so huge. And I'll say it takes a lot of courage to actually put yourself out there, because we always are afraid that people are going to be judgy and comment, or we're going to make a mistake. But I will just say this: if you are passionate about something, again, if someone was to ask you something and you would give like 20-minute dissertation on it, you were really knowledgeable on that. And I mean, what a service it is to provide people with this information. Let them come to you. I will say this: if you are someone who struggles with social anxiety, or you are an introvert, creating content on a podcast online as resources will make people come to you. It will really ease that social anxiety on approaching people, because when they come to you, they already like you and trust you. And so it makes it super easy to talk to people. So that initial fear, just think about like long term, what's it going to be doing for you? And so that's a big kind of, I would say, obstacle that keeps people from actually creating content, because they say things like, I have to have it all figured out. That's a huge one. You think that you need to create a 20-minute episode on that. I mean, I'll just say this: this has become my favorite metaphor. If a quote can change your life, why won't a 3-minute episode do the same for you?
That is gold. If a quote can change your life, why can't a 3-minute episode do that? Yes, that's so good. I do listen to a podcast called Marketing School, and they're literally just back to back to back 3 to 5 minute episodes. And I would binge them like, 15 episodes in a row.
Same. Same. I listened to episodes, and I remember at some point before I launched my company, I was driving, and there was this one episode. It was called Success Hotline, and this guy was. I still remember it to this day, because that episode was like so transformational. He was talking about how your approach to the day defines how you can overcome any challenge. So he said, if you have a problem, are you going to think about how can I learn from this, or instead of how can this happen to me all the time? Like, why is it happening to me all the time? And then at the end of the day, if you've overcome that challenge, and you're can take anything, or at least know that that's going to be a huge thing. And the cool thing that happened is that day I went to the studios and everything was going wrong. We had a massive issue in the studios. Like, I feel like internet was down all the time, and then we had like a power outage, and I was just like, you know what, that podcast told me to just like overcome anything, and I can. And so it just helped me so much. So I think, like, what is your attitude? Don't think that you have to create all of these really lengthy pieces of content, but also it's actually a journey. And so a lot of people, especially if they're thought leaders in their industry, they feel so exposed because they're starting something new, and it's gonna suck and you're gonna make mistakes. But look at how long you've been doing the thing, and maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago, how long it is that you've been in your industry. It was fine, right? Like, you learn along the way, and what a journey it has been, and you've done so many amazing things. And I feel like if you have nothing to show, if it has always been perfect and nothing bad happened, kind of boring.
Right? If you are showing up and you're all perfect and nothing goes wrong, people look and think, well, I can't do that, right? And as creative entrepreneurs, as people who want to transform lives, we need to show the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it actually makes us, we are human, but to our audience, it's like, well, if
Makes
she
us
can do it,
relatable.
exactly, if she can do it, I can. And a huge thing that you said there was the fear of judgment. I mean, this is a big thing, especially for transformational coaches out there who really want to make impact in the world. But that fear of judgment, it can really, really hold people back from moving forward. But you did say that when you share your content, you're helping others. And, these people that might judge you, ask yourself, who are they really? Right? They're probably nobody that you need to even care about. And if your family do, well, they should support you, right? You don't need to ask permission from your family. They should just be supporting you. So I on that note, I was fearful of being seen. I one time I heard somebody say behind me, "Oh my God, that's Sally Sparks' cousin. She's famous." Now, some people would think that that is exciting. I literally died inside and I wanted to curl under a table and go, "No, I'm not. Go away," because I didn't want to be famous until Valerie Burton said the only way to make true impact is to be known. And then I was like,
Ooh.
I have to be known. I have to be famous, whatever the word is that you want to associate with that. And the more people that know you, the more haters you're going to get. The more people that are going to, I mean, I get some horrible DMs, but they're just not my people. And the great thing about social media is you're like, block, bye. Never to be seen again. Sometimes I wish I could do that with family members. Block, never see me again. But at least with the social and the things, you can do that. So there is that freedom as well. So it's wrong of you not to share your message with the world.
There was let me just say this because otherwise I'll forget. There was this transformational moment. I don't know what I had, like, is it in my coffee? What is it? But sometimes I have these thoughts that is just, they're not, they're not really like big things, but they're reality. And it's just when you're focusing on perfectionism, when you're trying to be perfect, you're focusing on the perception that people have of you. You're focusing on the ego. When you're focusing on helping others, you're putting the focus on outside of you, like everything, your community. And so you take away because you're thinking I'm helping them. So it doesn't matter that it's not quote unquote perfect, because what you're putting out there is more than anyone else would do. So just think about that. How can you help out other people get there?
That's so powerful. It is about everybody else. And I know when my mindset shifted from trying to make money in the business to just serving others, the money comes, right? And the team come and the lifers come because you're no longer focused internally on that ego. Or I also call it the little itty bitty shitty committee that sits on your shoulder as well, telling you can't do this, you're not good enough, that's a mistake. I'm like, fucking, oops, flick that, flick that. Little itty bitty shitty. Now I've got to put an expletive thingy on this podcast. But you got to flick it off.
The truth.
You got to flick that off, and you got to seriously like share your inner sparkle, your genius with the world, which is what you do, right? Sharing the podcast. You've gone all in on helping people with podcasts, which is so super powerful. And hearing your story, how you've transitioned from, journalism into radio, into all the things, and audio is your thing, which, at the moment I wish my audio was better.
It's awesome.
Oh, it's all right. I'm totally going to be bringing away my Rode podcaster mic next time that's USB. But anyway, we digress. In regards to the content, and, we all have our own brand, our own personality out there. People are wanting to, I guess, they might see this podcast and it's a live stream. If you're listening to this with this in your ear, go across to YouTube. You'll be able to actually see what the actual live podcast looks like. But it's all branded because we use Ecamm, of course. Good old Ecamm. We love our Ecamm fam. What would you say in regards to people with their brand? And most of our people are all sort of influencers, and they've got a personal brand, creating content around that.
So to become more knowledgeable or to lean into your branding?
Yeah, leaning into your branding within your podcasting.
Okay. So I think it is mandatory that you do that. If you're using your podcast to grow your business, it has to be easily identifiable with your personal brand. Like your podcast right now, everything around that we're looking at, it just matches you. It's colorful. It has the pink, the fuchsia, all the colors that already are part of your brand, Sally. And it's just so easily recognizable. And it's such a fun thing to do. If you love your branding, why would you not do the same thing? I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't want to do the same branding for the podcast because they don't like their branding. So what do? You fix your branding first, and then you actually put it all together. Because actually, in the past, I had a client who was not feeling confident on sharing her podcast because she absolutely did not like her branding. It was a branding that was kind of like done a few years ago. She's like, I don't identify with that branding anymore, but I feel like I don't want to promote it. And then as soon as she changed her branding, it was just, she was flying on social media. She was promoting it. She was super thrilled because she felt super excited. And I think a podcast is a tool for your business. And so, same fonts, same color, everything. And also, don't be afraid to put yourself on the cover. People, when they're looking for online content, they tend to go to faces about, I think it's something like 70% of the time. So, it's amazing that people can look at your podcast and be like, oh, I like this person. Let me go and check. Because people don't just connect with branding just like that. They have to listen to you. And so this is something that I know for a fact because I've coached people on this. You can be yourself. It's safe to be yourself. And you shouldn't be trying to do any other personality, because here's the problem. If you are trying to put like a cape on and be like Clark Kent and trying to just create a different personality, when people meet you in person, let's say you have these really bubbly personality online, and then people meet you in person and you have social anxiety, or you're just not good with people, people are going to have that expectation that you are super open and exciting, and then they may feel super disappointed that you're not like that. And so I think, what are the things that really shine about your personality? Just be confident that people will connect with you. I mean, you have friends, so it means that people like you for who you are. So why want thousands and hundreds and dozens of other people online in just the world? I mean, people will choose to stay with your podcast because of you. So don't feel like you have to create this whole persona, because people just are willing to listen to you. And one of my really good favorite creators in the world, Nick Redman, she's a voiceover artist from Ireland. And she says, being someone else is so much work. Why would you why would you want to be that? And I'm like, yes, it's so true. Just be yourself.
You just show up and talk like you're having a coffee with a friend, right? And people will say, oh, but Sally, you're so bubbly. You don't have to be bubbly.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I look at some of our clients. I don't know what it is with the breastfeeding industry, but we have 3 breastfeeding clients, and they're all, you listen to them and every single one of their voices is just so soothing and relaxing. But in that niche, they're looking after babies and they're trying to settle their babies, and it really matches their personalities. So that you don't have to, be all the sparkle and all the color. You just do you, because nobody else can do you, right? And like, as you said, it's exhausting being somebody else. I did have a coach once tell me, Sally, you need to have a good hard look at yourself. You're too bubbly. And I'm like,
That was the mindset a while ago, right? Like, everybody was like, you have to fit in these boxes.
yes. And I'm like, I am like this at the dinner table with my family, and they're telling me to settle down, right? So it's not a persona. I just have fun. Life's too goddamn short to not enjoy yourself and smile and appreciate the small things. Now, I'm a little sad because we are time restricted here, because, we've got a hard stop very, very soon. So I better move on to the Sparkle questions, because Ma will be very disappointed with me. So the Sparkle questions are a little bit more off topic, but also just to learn a bit more about you. So first Sparkle question is, when you were young, what did you want to be?
I am laughing because, you know what? I was the kind of person that on Monday wanted to be a vet. On Tuesday, I wanted to be a policewoman riding a horse. On Wednesdays, I wanted to be a ballerina. Like, it was just every day I wanted to be something different. And then geography teacher, all the things. But the common thread was always engaging with people. And so I feel like talking, when I was in high school, I realized, I was like, you know what? I really enjoy having conversations. And so what does fit into that journalism. And so I feel like I really am owning my authenticity. Like I feel like I'm everybody's cheerleader because I truly think that everyone has a way of contributing to the world. And so I'm like, if no one else is telling you that they're proud of you, I am telling you that I'm proud of you. And I feel like that has been the common thread. And so I like while I was never really truly the person who say like I was born to do this, I felt like I was always in situations where I was cheering others on or helping other people achieve what they wanted.
Oh, that's so beautiful. All right, my next sparkle question is, can you name 3 books that have been a big inspiration to you?
Yeah. So it's funny that I read this question. I am not a book person.
Do
And
you
I was like,
listen to do you listen to books? Because I'm not a
I listen to
reader.
podcasts. I
Yeah,
listen to
okay.
podcasts.
All right, so let's shift that. What
So,
are the 3 biggest podcasts that like have had a big influence or
yes,
inspiration
I
to
was
you?
I was gonna like, okay, let me mix it up. So, podcast wise, I'm obsessed with Denise Duffield Thomas, Chill and Prosper. She's a money mindset coach. It's really actionable. And also, I send this podcast to everyone who's just thinking about starting a show because people have like really constricted ideas on what a podcast can be. And she's just so relaxed. And she's just really herself. And she's Australian. And so I was like, Sally, the everything amazing is in Australia. I gotta go and visit. So I actually read her book, Lucky I had it note. Get Rich Lucky Bee. I don't know if this is rated. It's like another word that has a itch. But yeah, that's her. That's her book. Love her podcast, and also Atomic Habits by James Clear. I feel like that's been. I got so late into the bandwagon of this book. I'm just reading it now. It's in it, like I forget about it, and then I pick up another book, and then I read about it. So it's just like whatever is at hand. Love Amy Porterfield's podcast. I'm a big marketing person, so I love that, and a ton of other podcasting related that I don't think most people will be interested to know. But a really cool book because my husband is in user experience, got obsessed into what user experience is and how we can learn for business how that works, and actually have a book here, Melina Palmer's What Your Customer Wants and Can't Tell You. So these are really actionable tips on she has a podcast, the Brainy Business Podcast. And so I just love, and I can send you the link so it's on the show notes, but I just love her approach to how you can really use user behavior economics to make better sales, to make a better business, and just understand why is no one clicking. It's like, well, maybe your offer is not really clickable or it's not out there, or you're just making people jump through a gazillion hoops to get there. So love her book, and I think her podcast is just amazing and very attainable.
Well, there's a really great list, and some of those I didn't know about, so I'll be definitely going and adding them to my to my list of to listens while I fall asleep. All right, so if you were to put on my shoes and you were sitting in the interviewer seat, what's a question that you would have asked yourself?
Silence as I'm thinking. I would say the question that I wanted more people to ask me about is just why should people start a podcast? And I just think that is just why not? One of the reasons why I think just like holiday seasons come and go throughout the year. And so I would like you to think about podcasting as your legacy to the world,
Wow, that's
right?
cool. Right? Because it's going
Like,
to be
how can
around way after us. And podcasts are never going to go anywhere. It's like radio, right? And
absolutely.
yes, that's so powerful because you think about it, when we're gone, our children and our children's children are going to be able to go back and listen to our podcast. That's pretty awesome. I
And
love that.
even just in your family, who maybe grandpa, maybe grandma had an amazing life. And when they're gone, you can listen to their podcast, to conversations you had at the dinner table and hear their story. I know so many people who go into 23andMe, like that DNA ancestry test. And I'm like, well, all of this could be found out if people left a podcast to the world.
Well, I love
So
that. And it makes me remember when I was younger, and we don't really do it, I've found now, but I grew up with my grandparents. And every Wednesday night, people would come over and we'd sit around and tell stories. And we'd hear the same stories over and over and over again, but it was like leaving a legacy to us. So I can still remember and tell those stories well after my grandparents have left us. And telling my daughter, you see, I have these conversations with my husband and he's like, you've told me that already. And I'm like, but do you remember everything? Right?
Very good point.
Because you think back to, here in Australia, like the Aboriginals and the Dreamtime and all the things, it's all about storytelling. And that's how you pass on your legacy. Well before the written word was storytelling. And yeah, I think that was really, really great food for thought there. I'd never really considered it in that aspect. So thank you for sharing that. Now, the last sentence, which I totally forgot through my entire podcast batching day last time, but I have to get you to complete this sentence.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Anna and I sparkle because...
I'm authentic. And I help others
say the
become
whole
their...
sentence so that the girls can
hi.
audiogram it.
Sorry. Okay. Hi. Okay, I'll wait for you. Okay. Hi, I'm Anna, and I sparkle because I'm my most authentic self, and I help others do the same.
Love that. Okay, plug time, lady. Where can people go and find out more about you?
Yes. So if you would like to know more about podcasting or just, I'm always about meeting people and helping them get their message out there. So thepodcastspace.com is the place where you can sign up to a newsletter, be part of our membership, take a course, learn resources for free, all the things. So that's the place to go. And I live on Instagram. My creative self is like Instagram, the gram for life. So Instagram.com/thepodcastspace.
Love that. I was going to say to you, where's your social home? Because we've all got one, right? That place that, we play on all the others, but there's just the one that usually we tend to gravitate towards the most. Look, this has been so much fun, and I feel like I could have spoken to you for hours, and you've given our audience some really fabulous knowledge there. So if you're out on the live stream listening to this out somewhere with us in your ears, make sure you shoot us a message and let us know what was the biggest aha moment, key takeaway from this discussion. Anna, thank you so much for joining us. And I know you have a meeting coming up, so I want to also respect your time. For everybody else out there, we still have an amazing lineup of guests coming. We have Paul Kim, who will be joining us. Here's our final interview for today, so make sure you join us. If you have not yet done so, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you get a little ding ding when we're going live, or go find Dr. Sparkle. She's pretty cool. She also sends out the list of guests that we have on each and every single, well, it's meant to be every 6 weeks, but apparently Ma has lined me up with guests next week as well. All right, again, thank you so much. Oops, wrong button. Let's go down and push the right one that has the right names. There we go. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to dance this out. Have a great one, guys.
I will not bow down. Keep putting me off, I'm not gonna change my mind.